This segment is all about exit planning for your business. Welcome to the program. I'm Mark Imperial, and this segment's brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books published to lead their fields, educate consumers, and grow their businesses. Joining me on this segment is Deb Meyer, founder of Worthy Nest. Deb, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Mark.
Tell us a little bit about your work and specifically, who are the types of clients that you help?
Yeah, thanks for intro. So I'm a CPA financial planner by background, and I started working with business owners quite a while ago, really helping them more on the accounting side, but realizing that as I was also helping on the financial advisory side and the personal family goals, that a lot of small business owners face similar concerns as they run these successful businesses, but eventually they're going to get to a point where they no longer want to or have the capacity to continue running them in the way they feel is best. So they're looking for that eventual exit. And that's what exit planning is really all about, trying to help them prepare for that transition and then be a resource to them even after the transition. So a couple of years ago, I went ahead and got my certified certified exit planning advisor designation, just to better understand the framework at which I could educate business owners about going through some of these concepts that, really just can leave a lot of headspace for many business owners, but trying to quantify it in more measurable terms and follow a more prescribed framework.
We know that business owners are great at growth, but how much thought do they actually put into the exiting of their business, or do they even place an importance or understanding of what exit planning is?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I think a lot of business owners, while they have great intentions to think about that next step, many of them aren't necessarily doing any exit planning before the event. So I believe the statistic in the State of Owner Readiness that Exit Planning Institute did a few years ago was nearly 50% don't do any exit planning at all. And then they say, hey, I want to pass this business on to the next gen or consider an outside sale. But there's really some prep work that needs to go into that process before they actually exit.
What prevents them from exit planning at all, or working on it? Is there a lack of awareness of it, or what other reasons do business owners not plan for their exits?
Well, I think all of us are probably guilty of this in some respect, not just entrepreneurs, but if you think about just the essence of urgency, right? If you have a million things you have to get done in a given day, it's easy to say, okay, these things are important, but there's something I can just kind of skirt along and not really focus on. With exit planning, though, because you have dedicated so much of your life to building up this business, for many people, it's almost like a baby. They're really in a position where it's hard to sometimes step back and see the bigger picture and what life might look like after the business exit. And I think a lot of it just comes down to intentionality. So that's why having a framework, having, at least one advisor to help walk you through the process is going to be more beneficial than you just trying to kind of think about it on your own as you're lying awake at night, worried about whatever business concerns.
Do you find that business owners hold any myths or misconceptions in regard, or do they have any preconceived notions about what they're planning on doing when they exit their business and sell it?
Well, I think for a lot of business owners, especially if you have, adult children that are of age where they could be taking a more integral role in the business, many parents aspire to have their kids take on that family business, but in reality, not every kid is suited or has the desire to take over that family business. And so then it becomes a point of trying to figure out, okay, do I have the right team in place, family or non-family, to be perhaps an internal successor, or is what's really best for the business perhaps an external sale? I don't think many people, especially family-owned businesses, really consider that external sale as a legitimate option.
Can we unpack that a little bit? Kind of give us
Sure.
maybe a 10,000 foot view of what a successful exit should consist of. What are kind of the areas, and as you mentioned, a team that you want to put together and sort of quarterback? What does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, I think with any successful exit, you have to think of it in kind of three terms or three legs of the stool. So you have the business, maximizing that business value to get whatever is best in class for that particular industry and try to get the maximum multiple, so that, more money is ultimately in the pocket from that transaction. That's one aspect. Then the other consideration is the financial aspect. And that's a piece where you have to think about, okay, if this has been a successful, quote unquote, successful business over the years, you've typically come as an owner to rely on profit distributions, wages, that kind of item. And it's a big financial amount that's you're typically benefiting from. So to suddenly transition to where you're not financially benefiting from that, other than this one event, this sale, that can be a pretty big wake up call to try and understand, okay, what are some of the ongoing expenses I have in this post sale life? And it can take quite a bit of time to really quantify what that is. Luckily, with financial advisors, we're well adapted at trying to figure out, okay, what are your current expenses and what are some of the future expenses, and modeling that out from a financial perspective, even on your personal cash flow. And then with like the business side that I talked about, maximizing value, having someone who's a value advisor, they're going to be able to come in there and very directly say, okay, operationally, we need to do this, this, and this, and really help maximize that business value side. I mean, I think as a CPA, I have some insights into how to maximize that. I wouldn't call myself the true value advisor that's all I'm doing day in, day out. So I would probably look to work with another value advisor who that's their sole focus, is getting that business value to be the max and best in class. And then the third piece, that's also equally important, is really kind of envisioning that post-business sale life. And this is good for any retiree. Like, a lot of our identity is wrapped up in our work. So if we no longer have that place to go into and do our job, be making a meaningful contribution, where are we going to make a meaningful contribution in the world outside of the business? So that's the other piece that I think especially financial advisors can help walk through that as well.
Terrific insight. Deb, what inspired you to get into this field and specifically help business owners with their exit? How did you get started?
Well, it's interesting. I've worked with a lot of different clients over the years, and to be honest, I just love entrepreneurs because I think we're, as much as people think we're risk takers, it's like we're taking calculated risks, and I really enjoy working with entrepreneurs on all things relating to their financial and overall household well-being. But as I was getting the SEPA designation a few years ago, what really prompted me to do it was one of my small business owner clients, a couple of years from retirement. And he was like, I really want someone who can help me strategize on how to best exit successfully. And am I going to be doing an internal succession with my kids, or am I going to be considering an external succession? I just wanted to be more aware of what those options were for him so I could counsel him appropriately. And once I went through that training and got the credential, I just felt, okay, this is something I really want to dive into more with other clients. So that's a bit of my story.
Terrific. Before I ask you my last question, in regards to exit planning for a business owner, is there anything I didn't think to ask you that you feel is important to share with business owners?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the statistics that I first learned that was just so surprising was that, anywhere from 70 to 80% of the privately held businesses that want to, or they're marketed for sale, don't actually sell. Usually there's a lot of stumbling blocks along the way, and it could be, hey, they're not getting the value that they want, or for whatever reason, the business owner themselves is not ready to actually release the business and sell it. So that's where I think the value of exit planning really comes to hopefully change that dynamic and get us in a position where maybe only 50% in future years are going to be not closing. And then eventually we'll get to 20% or something like that, where hopefully the vast majority of those businesses that are going for sale are actually going to be a successful sale, and they'll be looked at in favorable terms, not a sense of regret after it's done.
We hope this series of spotlights shines a light on the importance of exit planning. Deb, for business owners listening who would love to speak with you and perhaps get your help, how can they find you and connect?
Yeah, please go to my website. It's worthynest, WORTHYNEST.com. And then my email is deb@worthynest.com.
This has been terrific. I really appreciate you taking the time to share with my audience today, and I wish you continued success for you and for all of your clients.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
That was Deb Meyer, founder of Worthy Nest, and this segment's been brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done and published to lead their fields, educate consumers, and to leave a legacy. That's all for now. I'm Mark Imperial, and thanks for joining me.